All right, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Morris, and I'm the Director of Career Services here at Niagara University. And thank you for joining us with our alumni panel this evening that's titled Journeys in Entrepreneurship. So with me today as my co-host is Julie Candela from Admissions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for helping me. I graduated in 2013. I work in the admissions office and I work with a lot of local students as well as New York City and Long Island students, but I work with pretty much everyone on campus. I'm very closely affiliated with the business department. So that's why I'm here today. And I'm fairly great friends with Stephanie at work. So thank you for having me, and I can help you all with any of your needs. If you're, if you haven't applied yet, if you've applied, you're accepted, any questions you have, the application process, depositing, financial aid, anything that you need from here on out, even if you're in the graduate program. So please contact me at any time and I'll be here the whole event and help you at the end too. So thank you and have fun today.
Thanks, Julie. So just a couple housekeeping things. If you have any questions for our panelists or Julie or myself, please feel free to pop those in the chat. Julie's going to be monitoring that throughout. We were initially going to have 3 panelists. Unfortunately, one was unable to attend, but we are fortunate enough to have 2 of our alumni with us today. So I'm going to first ask them to introduce themselves, what year they graduated from NU, what their major was, and a little bit about their current business. And we will start with Kim.
All right. Hi, I'm Kimberly Tomasic. I was Kimberly Vona when I was at Niagara. Some of you might recognize me from the pillar outside of Kiernan if you're ever on campus. I think it's still there. I ran cross country and that's the only thing I have left there. And I graduated with my undergrad degree in 2013 in marketing and my MBA in 2014. So I bring a really different perspective to this panel because I run my business KSV Social part-time in addition to working full-time. And since 2017, I've worked with 18 businesses, and the services I offer are social media marketing, content management, content creation, SEO, branding, logo design. So kind of everything to kind of kickstart a business off the ground.
Thank you. And John?
Hey everyone, John Osberg. I graduated in 2013 with a finance degree. My purple blood runs deep, as my dad's been there now for about 4 decades, who I think is also on this call tonight. Professor of psychology there, so go Perps. I actually had kind of an interesting also experience, and I know Kim well. We had great times at Niagara. But so basically I had the traditional internships as a finance student, which I'll cover more on as we go through the panel here, but ended up actually working for a startup through happenstance with a neighbor that I live next to. And actually it was a technology startup that ended up blossoming and kind of allowing me to kind of strap myself to the bit of a rocket ship that it was, which has now propelled me into what I'm doing full time, which is my own business. It's called The Power of Osmosis Consulting. That's OZMOSIS. And I focus on helping companies create or cast wider spotlights on them, as well as working with community organizations and human beings in the world of performance, transformative coaching and development, and things in between that.
Thank you, John. So I'm going to start with Kim. We have a lot of students that, through my work in career services, Julie can probably attest to this through her work in admissions. If you ask them what their career goals are, they might say, well, someday I hope to be my own boss. Someday I want to own my own business. So Kim, can you tell us a little bit about your Niagara experience and how you ended up starting your own company?
Sure. So when I was at Niagara, I was very involved in the marketing club, and I became president of that by the time I was a senior, and I also tutored a lot. I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff we did in NUMA, which is the Niagara University Marketing Association, which we worked with a lot of local organizations. I think there was the Hyde Park Business Association, and we did a bunch of talking with them to how they can market their business better. So I think just the like the flexibility of being able to work with a bunch of different businesses instead of one business every day. You walk in, walk out 9 to 5. It was very a treat to me to have the flexibility to be able to work with a bunch of different businesses kind of on my own schedule. I will say, while at Niagara, though, I never intended on starting my own business. It's just something that came about as I was working through my career and developed skills that people wanted to pay me for. So, but I will say, NU prepared me to have the skills to be able to go on my own. I've learned a lot about how to through all the business classes I took, I knew about finances and accounting because I was a business major and was offered all these opportunities through Niagara to kind of know a little bit about everything besides just my major in marketing.
Perfect. Thank you. And John, how about for you?
Yeah, just building off what Kim said there, fortunate to have been a part of a lot of different university type, programs. Obviously, for Steph and I've known Stephanie for quite some time. I was a campus ambassador for career services and then AEP, academic exploration program, which then got me into, working on, board of trustees committees. And so I was really getting myself networked both within the organization, within the university. I'll be all right. Working within the university, but then also, striving and seeking out those internships per my finance background. But it was really actually a couple professors who I don't think are there anymore. I think they retired, but I'm sure there are still several that fit this type of criteria or mold. Both theoretical but practitioner type professors. The two that I'm fondly recalling are both Bill Angus and John Overbeck, who, had a lot of experience in the real world, and they brought that to Niagara while they were professors there. And I just, as my dad taught me as a young kid, I attached myself to their coattails. I was really intrigued with what they did as business professionals. They had such diverse backgrounds, and were very entrepreneurial in nature. And so, it was my Management 271 class. I'm sure it's still being offered or some form of it, where we actually had a chance to do an internship, a semester's long internship working with a local business. Shout out to Marianne Hess of Niagara's Honeymoon Suites, who I still talk to this day. And we actually did a full-on business plan for them. And that was really what started getting me thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. It wasn't a full-on, go, in terms of like the green light. It was more of something that was interesting to me. And I thought, okay, maybe this could be something that I pursue one day. And it wasn't until, as mentioned earlier, that happenstance opportunity of getting invited to work for a technology startup that got me into that entrepreneurial world. So it's a mixture of, again, networking within the university, networking outside of the university, and attaching myself to the professors who really intrigued me with their backgrounds in entrepreneurship.
So John, I'm going to stay with you for a minute here. Since your company is what you do full time, what is it that really allowed you to take that leap? And what are some of the things that you've learned just in this time that you've had your own business?
Yeah, so it's been about 6 months, just to put that out there for the group, that I did go out on my own and started doing, osmosis. So I created it, and then I'm all in on it now. I wore this shirt on purpose. Passion's a big part of it. The shirt says "I am passionate," and so passion is a big part of it, but also courage. It takes a lot to kind of go outside the sandbox of life. Societal constructs, societal norms that say, hey, we got to go get a job and work within companies. There's nothing wrong with that. What it was 3 different businesses that I worked for. Here as my sister joins, that's funny. Erica Osberg there, shout out. But what it was I worked for entrepreneurial minded companies. So it was like, I was never, something I discovered, maybe just within the last 6 to 8 months. I'd never really realized I wasn't truly an entrepreneur. I was what's called an intrapreneur. So I was an entrepreneurial business professional working within an organization. So I wasn't truly the leader, right? So I was hired by 2 different gentlemen at this first startup technology company. And they were the entrepreneurs because they're the ones that took the leap. They're the ones that were paying me out of their own pocket. I was watching how the sausage was made. I did not make the sausage. So back to your original question, passion, courage, discipline, and really at the end of the day, truly knowing who you are all in. So not when I mean who you are, right? The classic question is, well, what do you do? My question when I meet people is why do you do what you do? So for me, it took me a couple, interesting kind of, left turns or curveballs, we'll call them, throughout my career that prompted me to do some soul searching. And then I found out really why it is. I've distilled it down to even a sentence of why it is that I'm here on earth. And my goal is to self-actualize on that purpose. So I think a combination of passion, courage, discipline, and really knowing why you're here will really attribute to that full kind of, tapestry, if you will, of what it is to be an entrepreneur.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So Kim, how about for you? I know you had mentioned earlier, like you developed a skill set that you found out people were willing to pay you for, but there still has to be a little bit more to why you choose to start a business.
Yeah. So, granted, I say I work like a full-time job. I'm still putting in like 20 hours a week in my own business. It's not like a couple hour thing. It's an after work weekend hustle, 100%. And I totally agree with everything John said. I knew I would agree with everything he said, because it's all about passion, determination, and straight up hustle, because that's the only way you're going to get clients, keep them happy, and be able to deliver everything that you say you are. So I think that's why I chose to kind of do my own thing. I like what I do full time. So I actually work full time for a startup started by a Niagara University graduate, which we'll have to get him on. So that's
Aaron Ryan and Leo Schultz, right there, Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's awesome. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity, because I actually love what I do there. And I love it's not what I went to school for though. What I went to school for is marketing, as I have my MBA in, and I love that so much too, that I kind of can't choose right now what I want to do. It's like at the fork in the road. But I love, it's because I'm passionate about working with small businesses and kind of fixing things. So like one of my clients, I'll just give an example, was a bagel chain. So he didn't have any social media presence almost at all, and it wasn't consistent. So it was really fun for me to kind of put together a puzzle and solve a problem and just to get him results through social media, which is something he never thought he could do. So for me, it's just, I love marketing. It's a passion of mine. I don't want to give it up, even though what I do full time isn't that. So I think I always want to keep learning and growing. And if my job won't provide me those opportunities, I have to seek them out myself. And the best way to do that is to is to offer my services to the public and other companies. And so that's what I've been doing. I've gotten all my clients via word of mouth, through people who've worked with me at other full-time jobs I've had, or people in the community is like, hey, I heard you do this, like, could you help me? So it's basically just the passion that I have for what I went to Niagara University for.
So right now, a lot of small businesses are struggling. I could see where marketing efforts have to be really ramped up. What have you seen in the last few months, and how have you been able to help your clients?
Sure. I'll take this one first, because a lot of my clients were restaurants. So with the value proposition I offer to my clients is that I'm flexible and available. So they don't have to go through a large agency, and they don't have to spend money to hire a full-time person. I'm kind of in between gap in that need. So when COVID struck, they had to update hours on Google My Business, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything had to be updated instantly. Every week something was changing, menus changed, limited menus, limited hours. So when that happened, thankfully none of my clients had to close, but they had to switch up operations very quickly and let all of their customers know ASAP. So Text Club, emails, social, Google, everything had to be updated quickly. And that's where I came in and stepped in and helped them out. So that's kind of my perspective, is things changed quick and they needed someone flexible. And that's kind of what my business offered, is a quick turnover.
Okay. And John, do you have any comments to add there?
Yeah, I can even lean on a conversation I had with, a not-for-profit just down the street from our beloved Niagara University campus there with the Aquarium of Niagara. So I was at TRAC, which is also a Niagara University partnered project in the heart of downtown Niagara Falls. I was there this morning, and then I went over to see my friends over at Aquarium of Niagara, and it's much of the same in the conversations that are being had with, again, on all three levels, right? So I serve businesses, I serve communities, and by communities, I mean community organizations, not-for-profits. and then also human beings on a one-on-one basis, or sometimes in a group or a team setting. So it's much of the same, right? There's so much struggle without highlighting too much negativity, but just being objective and realistic. And so really, where does that struggle stem for let's call it a business? It's traction with their, let's say it's like an aquarium of Niagara, again, is a great example. They rely on foot traffic, which has been impacted obviously because of the pandemic, where they had to shut down for several months, and being a not-for-profit, that really impacted them because they were already on tight margins. So they've got a story to tell. And, I'm definitely not a marketer. I can tell you, there's a bleeding line, or there's a fine line, I'll call it, between what I'm doing, which is like business development, sales, public relations, public awareness raising. I often though get the question of marketing, and I leave it to the pros like Kim. But what it is though, is it's having the ability to generate a buzz around a brand, around an organization that I like to say, doing great things for the betterment of the masses. And so we were taught that at Niagara as a Vincentian institution that, we need to focus on serving the underprivileged, the never served, the underserved, the never served, the underprivileged. And in this case, this is something that, I want to do to help businesses, and then more so in the communities, per the Vincentian remark, that there's a lot of also not-for-profits outside of the aquarium that are more of that traditional, fundraising type organization that are working with, like, say, military veterans is something I do a lot of work with. So I'm using my platforms, I'm using my voice, I'm using my technology setup down here in I call OzCave, and then also my network and my network of networks to find synergistic opportunities, whether on an individual level, a group level, or a company level. So there is quite a bit of struggle, and there's a lot of need for support. So, it's great to hear from Kim, again, fellow Niagara Purple Eagle, doing great things to help those businesses. Because in these times of, of struggle and adversity, that's where you really you're going to forge such a strong bond with these businesses and these people and these community organizations by providing them much needed support.
Thank you. So both of you have touched on this, that it seems as if your time at Niagara University, you've had a lot of opportunity. And I think that, that is something that we're always trying to share with prospective students as well as current students. Like, embrace the opportunities while you're here. We are a community of care. It seems like through the work that both of you are doing, that Vincentian spirit is definitely running through your veins. If you were to answer the question to a prospective student, why Niagara, what would you tell them? And John, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different for me because of what I mentioned earlier, having, the purple in my veins at a young age, but what that then did for me was give me a true intimate look into what it is to be a member of the Niagara, University Purple Eagle community. And again, like you mentioned, and like I've already touched on, right, it's that servant leadership that, again, our world needs now more than ever. It's, again, even is going as granular as the intimate class sizes in that one-on-one conversation with a professor versus a larger institution where you're talking to a TA, teacher's assistant. And then, I mean, too, just some of the intangibles of having a beautiful campus for those that are able to be there. I know it's obviously modified learning right now, and we'll soon be out of this and we'll go back to normalcy. But certainly for me, being on campus there and having the access to great mentors, great professors, great, just a lot of fantastic, fellow students. Again, I'm sitting right next to one here virtually with Kim. And so for me, it was a mixture of things, but, it aligned with my personal kind of or I should say my persona, the way I was raised, in working with, individuals and just trying to provide support, again, learning under the feet of a psychologist as a father. That was really closely aligned with what I loved about, my time at Niagara. So, yeah, I think it was just, and then one last thing too, just the access, right? The access to go sit with, go sit with the president, go sit with some of the upper administration, and have the opportunity to do a lot and get involved in a lot of different things. I was part of the Finance Association. I was their executive director. I'm just looking at some of my notes here. And again, obviously working with you staff and team, and I mean, the professors too. We got Dr. McNabb on here. I stay in touch with Dr. McNabb to this day, 7+ years later. I mean, that there is a great testimonial of in itself. And even the other professors mentioned earlier, and I'll finish here, but with John Overbeck and Bill Angus, I still talk to them. And so, here 7, 8, 9 years removed, because of those close relationships forged all those years ago, I'm sitting here today because of the things I learned from them, that I, even Steph, collaborating with you and team. So there's a wealth of opportunity at Niagara on all levels. So that's where I'm coming from.
And Kim, why Niagara?
Sure. So I'll kind of start with the reason why I picked Niagara to begin with. So I was recruited for cross country. I was recruited by, I wanted to stay local, and I was recruited by all the local schools like Canisius. Both my parents went to Canisius, a bunch of friends went to UB, but there was nothing like the connection I made with the people at Niagara. The coaches wanted me for me and saw potential in me, not just because like, oh, you run this time now. They're like, you could be great. And I got that vibe from every teacher I worked with, from every student I worked with, from all my coaches, is that they wanted to unlock the potential in you. And that's something different that I didn't get at any other recruiting trip that I was at. Just Niagara made it seem like, John mentioned that the intimate class sizes, I thought that was so important because I felt seen and heard in every class I took. Every professor, like Anna McNabb, as a professor I keep in touch with to this day. I wouldn't have done that if I was one in 200. I feel like I just think that Niagara offers such a special opportunity for people to be seen and heard, and to, if you seek out internships, anything you seek out that you want to get out of your time in college, Niagara is going to bend over backwards to make sure you get that. And that's not something I've seen at every other school that I interviewed at.
So if you had a final piece of advice for anybody thinking about branching off on their own and becoming an entrepreneur, what is something that you would tell them that would encourage them to follow their dreams?
I'll let you go first, John.
It's all good. We'll alternate. Yeah, this is a quote that I used earlier in a podcast I shot, and it's timely because the 1 year passing of this legend just came up. But Kobe Bryant, there's a video that, again, living in that life coaching, transformative, motivational world. There's one thing that he says that I'll never forget, and I think about it often. And it's if you wake up and you don't enjoy what you're doing, do something else, right? We have one chance on this earth, and it's so cliche. I find myself saying this so cliche phrase so often. But when you do finally unlock that code, if you will, that it is why I'm here, nothing can stand in your way to accomplishing what it is you're setting out to accomplish. And again, I'm saying that this morning with Gary Sedal over at the Aquarium in Niagara, and you could tell he was jiving, he was excited by it. But my advice, just to kind of give the real kind of just outward saying, is just think about what you love. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do? What could you do that when you wake up in the morning and you're not getting paid anything, but you had to pick one thing that you could do with your life that you would love doing every single day and find excitement in? That's the thing you need to pick, and then the rest will follow itself. Again, I think that's my dad that's on this call, so I'll reference him one more time. He told me at a young age, I hope it's my dad, or else that's weird that I'm referencing Tim when it's someone else. So hopefully it's him. But for me, it was, follow what you love, right? Be so good that they can't ignore you is kind of one thing he instilled in me. And so when you're going to be good at something, you usually love it and are, again, passionate. Refer to my shirt. And so, everything will take care of itself once you figure that out, that life purpose, that quest, that mission, and then don't let anything get in your way until you truly finish it. And like I said, to self-actualize, that's one of my favorite phrases. So find what you love and go get it done. Go after it.
And Kim?
I'm going to give kind of two pieces of advice. One is more relating to if you become an entrepreneur or something, I would definitely advise. And then kind of to piggyback off what John said, I've worked so many corporate jobs that I was so miserable you couldn't pay me enough to stay. And that's just, and so I can definitely relate to wanting to do what I love. And once I kind of like I mentioned before, I never intended to go off on my own business. I always thought I'd be working for some big corporate company. And when I realized this doesn't make me happy and I want to be happy, and I realized I could be happy when I'm helping others and doing things that utilize the skills that I learned at Niagara. And I can also make a living doing it. that kind of completely changed everything for me. I could definitely see myself going full time into KSP Social if I also didn't love what I did full time. But I just 100% agree with the advice John gave, and want to say, like, corporate jobs, it may not, for some people it's perfect, 9 to 5, you're in, you're out. And for some people it's just not. It's just not.
Mhm.
And it's fine to like try both. Like, I've definitely been all over the place, and like I've worked in so many different industries and I have so many different experiences, and what I've loved the most is honestly working for startups and then doing my own thing, and it just makes me so happy. And then another piece of advice is, as an entrepreneur, with clients, one thing I will advise is, I used to have to say, I want to say like yes to everything. Like, yes, I can help you do this. Yes, I can help you do that. And then I have 50 hours of work I have to fit into 20 hours. So I will definitely say, when you start working with a client, be sure, and this is just something that I like learned the hard way, you write up a scope of work, stick to the scope of work, and if something goes beyond that, have a plan for how you're going to charge or your bill for your time, just because time is so valuable. And I think the reason why I can fit it in is because I'm very organized. I know John can relate. Busier people actually are better with their time because they just know how to like work things out and plan things. So just make sure that you value your time. That's all I'm going to say is just value your time and make sure you have a plan ahead of time.
All right, perfect.
Can I just add something to that too, Steph? I mean,
Sure.
you're speaking my language here. I think it would be important to note too, something that I hit on earlier. Again, seriously, Kim, like that's like right out. I feel like you're in my head on some of that stuff, or most of it. Kudos. That was really insightful. Just to build off to the 9 to 5 remarks that I know I've made and Kim just made. I mentioned earlier that I was an entrepreneur, right? So I was kind of like, I had a buffer between what real entrepreneurship was and what I was doing, which was to be entrepreneurial in nature within a startup, a smaller business that then grew into maybe a more mid-size. There are ways though to find your passions, find what you love within a corporate job, right? So, cause like if everyone's going to go follow their dreams, which again, from what I have read and know, and just of humans, not everyone's going to have enough courage or all the things that align into one time to go be that entrepreneur. But you can find different, components of passion within that corporate job. So if I work for Niagara University, right, I would be in, it'd be like a 9 to 5 or whatever. Maybe it's more flexible now, but I would be able to pinpoint little things that are not even little, just different traits and qualities that would coincide and be congruent with my personal mission. And so there's nothing to say that being in that corporate job, right, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's that, finding ways to bring out your passions and then leverage and apply those passions within your job. Again, like with Niagara, the Vincentian mission really aligns well with me. So if I was working there, I would really be keying in on that. So just some things to add to that, because Kim, and the time thing, even to this day, Kim, I'm still figuring out ways to buffer time. And actually there's a thing called Defend Your Time. There's a good article on Medium about that, because it's the only thing we can't buy. It's the only thing we can't make more of. It's the only thing we can't get back. So those are things that, Kim, resonating deeply with me. So sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there. It looks like we have some question or a question in the chat.
Yeah, I just think entrepreneurship provided me with insight into, like, from my mom and my dad. Like, I never thought there was anything more than like signing up for a job every day. You go to work, you go home. There's just more. It's more than that I just didn't realize before, and I think that's a big trend that's coming out.
It certainly is now, especially.
And I just want to kind of piggyback off what both of you were saying, like from a career services perspective. I think that a lot of people have this idea that what they choose to major in, that it's this linear line that they're going to have to get to a career. However, more so than not, and when you listen to people's stories, you find that most people have a lot of twists and turns. And so I laugh when we're doing interview prep, right? And some companies will say, well, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And that is a question that a lot of people struggle with, because the reality is that a lot of us aren't even sure, especially in those years at NU, where they see themselves in 3 years or 5 years, right? And none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know where life is going to take us. And so I would say to any of the prospective students and our panelists, really did a great job of talking about their Niagara experience, that the ways in which we start to figure out where we fit is through the opportunities that you will have. So those opportunities might be a class project. Those opportunities might be internships. You may choose to study abroad. You might have an experience like John where you're able to connect with local business owners. You might have an experience like Kim where you're an athlete and it just is a connection that you're going to make. And then that network is going to take you other places. And so I would say, like, don't be afraid to try something that might be a little bit out of what you thought you might be doing. Because I find that oftentimes those experiences, if we don't love it, we at least learn something from it. And every experience that we have in life is a stepping stone to get us to that next step.
Mhm.
So I want to thank John and Kim for their time tonight. But also I want to just, I know we did have one admissions related question that was put in the chat. But if any of the other people that are attending tonight have any questions, you know, even it's a small enough group, if you'd like to unmute and ask the question or put it in the chat, either way, that's fine.
There's Dr.
All
McNabb.
right. Well, maybe the two of you just answered all the questions.
There you go. Love it.
Julie, do you have anything that you?
I think you asked great questions, like, you know, what makes NU so great? Why would you want to come here? I mean, that really helped me out a lot. So for me, on the admissions side, that really helps. So thank you both for joining us today. And of course, you can reach out to me for any questions you have at any time. And my information is in the chat box.
And
Awesome.
Dr. McNabb, I see that you unmuted, so I didn't know if you had something you wanted to add.
I just wanted to give them a shout out. Both Kim and John are great examples of what the service to the community can look like. Sorry, that's my dog who decided to bark now. So it will be on the video. But anyway, John and Kim, you're amazing. And it's so much fun watching you grow and go out there and conquer the world. So good luck and please continue to stay in touch.
Yeah, you're the best, Doc. We
Thank
learn
you.
from the best.
Oh yeah,
We learn from the best.
definitely.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
You're too kind.
I'm looking forward to some of the things we're talking about that are very entrepreneurial in nature too, working with track and other cool community things. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, feel
Well-
free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions
Yeah.
or anything. I'm an open book.
Same here.
Well, that concludes our evening. Thank you to both John and Kim. And we hope to bring you back in the future. We hope that some people will take you up on your offer to connect with you via LinkedIn, or perhaps one day, you know, do an informational interview or some way to connect with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thanks everyone for attending. Take care.